Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, Monkey Wrench. I'm Kelly, the monkey with the wrench. Today is a follow-up video. This is a John Deere tractor that a regular of mine brought to me and said would not start. In the last video, we checked it out and figured out why. And if you want to know how to diagnose the problem, go back and check it out. I will put part 2 on this and part 1 on the first video for diagnosis. And what we found was that the fuel pump was not working. Obviously we sprayed some carb spray in the carb and she started right up, tracked all the lines, found out that the fuel pump had gone bad, so I ordered a new fuel pump. It's a pretty common problem on these John Deeres. It comes with some gaskets, new bolts for the whole thing, and the nipples that go into the unit. It comes with the pump itself. It's a little windy today, sorry. So you get the pump, which bolts on here. I'll show you there. We're about to take the old one off. And it comes with the 2 nipples that they just press into place here. The top one just goes straight up and down, obviously, and the bottom one is elbow. So when you press that in, you can do it by hand. Make sure it's pointing the correct direction for what you're looking for. And that's what these are that come in the bag. One is straight and it has a little lip on the bottom that pushes into the fuel pump itself. And the other one is a 90-degree elbow. You really can't mess up putting them in, because only one end will go in. You'll see it sort of has this double lip on it, and the other end is barbed for your fuel line. Now it comes with extra fuel line and stuff too. And like I said, when you put these in, I'll go ahead and put the top one in for you, see if we're on camera. Basically, since the top one is just flat and straight, the barbed end goes into the fuel line and the other end gets pushed into the pump. You might have to use some brute force. Don't bend it. Don't break it. But it just presses in. So let me go ahead and open this up and I'll show you. Now once you press it in by hand a little bit, I like to take some big channel locks and just kind of go on the straight one and squeeze it in there real good. And it should seat just fine. Once you do, you don't want to pull it back out. It's kind of a one-time deal. But it should be okay if you do it like that. Put the pressure on it. I'm not sure why they make it so that the top one... Oh, I realize why. I was going to say, I don't know why they don't put the top one in there for you. But it's possible that on some models it has to go the opposite way. So you choose which way is up and which way is down, and then you put it in, and we'll put the other one in accordingly once we see exactly what we need to see. Now on here, let's see if I can get in there. I hope you can see better than I can see the screen. Right here's the fuel pump, and in this case it comes out at an angle. It doesn't come straight out and it doesn't go straight sideways. It will come out at an angle, sort of like that. So when I put it on, I'll put it on at a slight angle and then push it in place. And get it to clip in there. Once you get the first click, then you can take your pliers. Try not to put it on anything you're going to damage when you go to bring it, and try to use your fingers to keep it steady. If you put pressure on it and you don't keep it steady, it could bend sideways and then bust the end off. But we don't want to do that. So just work with it until you get it to push in. There, it just clicked in. So get your channel locks when you do it. Now it doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, mine's a little bit too sideways. but that's okay because we have a floating line here. So now what I'm going to do is just take off my fuel line. Just like so. Pull that off. Set that to the side. And hopefully you're in frame. It's very sunny here in Florida. And it's nice and breezy today. I want to say it's like 77 degrees or something. And I'm getting ready to meet up with a couple of, well, a friend of mine from EB Bike Rides who lives down the road. And someone he knows is coming in from out of town that has an e-bike channel. I think the e-bike guy, that's what he refers to him to, but I haven't met him. But he's coming in and they're gonna meet up and do a little bit of filming, and I'm gonna go riding with him, get a little bit of filming for my other channel. But this thing only has 2 bolts in it, and the package comes with new bolts. And basically there's a hook on the handle. This is the pump itself, and you kind of put it in there and then go sideways to put it back. So this one just stopped working for some reason. I mean, they go bad, they're notorious. Now, I'm not one to replace the bolts if they're not necessary, and these bolts are just fine. So I'm basically just going to take my new pump, make sure it's oriented in the right way. I'm going to stick that hook in and then bring it back around. Let's put the new gasket on here, just because we got one. This gasket is kind of important, so I'm going to pause you and get a blade and take that gasket off, and we'll put the new one in place. Try not to let the pieces of the gasket go in the little hole. If they do, it's not the end of the world. But considering this feeds directly into your carburetor, and this goes directly into your engine, you know, getting crap in there is not something you really want to do. Material says it's not rocket surgery, but people do depend on you when you're fixing their machines. So doing something silly just means that you're liable if something happens. So we just give that a quickie. Get that gasket off there. Give it a quick wipe. Wipe anything that might have fallen in that hole back out. See if we can find the gasket. Now, you don't need any kind of gasket sealer or any crap like that. You just need the gasket to go on. No big deal. And let's see. They send different parts for different machines. Stuff that you might need. You want to look right here. There's a line that goes around there, and there is a rubber O-ring that goes there. Now, the rubber O-ring should be sufficient as your gasket. The paper gasket is sort of a backup. So when you take that and you look at it and you go, okay, and you just fit that right there in place. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. So now we're good. I'm going to put that on there like that. Make sure that we have it flipped the correct direction. Your bolt holes will line up if you have it on the wrong direction. When your bolt holes line up, the gasket will be off-centered and it'll be hitting here. So just line up the holes correctly. Now I'm going to put my top bolt in to keep that gasket from dropping when I go to put this thing together. I'm going to feed that around this little corner and put that back in place and just get that bolt started. Just to hold it in place. And the reason for that is because I want to put this little that hose clamp, I want to put this little hose back on. And the hose that I took off on here, this is pretty hard and shot, so I'm not going to reuse that. Let me find the hose that came with it. Here we go. It comes with a little length of hose, so just go ahead and look at your old one and make yourself a new hose for it. I'm going to cut that. I got to find some scissors. I'll be right back. Now you don't need any special stuff. Cut fuel line, any old scissors will do. So I'm literally just going to take that and guesstimate, make it about the same length. Don't cut your fingers off. And then I can go ahead and put that on. Actually, I'm going to take that bolt back out because I want to put that on first. If you watch my channel, you know that I don't do a lot of editing. I like my viewers to be able to see exactly what I go through when I am putting something back together, so that they know exactly what to kind of look for and what might happen to them while they are attempting to do something like this. Little whoopsies that happen, little things that you might forget, that kind of thing. I'm gonna put my hose clamp back on. Now the bottom portion does not need a hose clamp because it's barbed. You could put one on there if you like, but you don't have to. So now I got my little hose on there. And there is just a little bit of up and down room here, so you'd be all right without dropping my gasket or my bolt. Just gonna feed that back on there. This is a hard line that goes across the top of these Kohler engines, and the reason is it's more protected because it's right on top of the motor. Now I can put this back where it belongs, put my bolt in. And then last, we'll put our intake on. The other bolt. You don't need any kind of sealer or anything like that. You could put some Loctite on the bolts if you find later that they start to loosen up on you. You could also put Never-Seez on there if you like, if you have trouble getting the old ones out. I find that these pumps go bad every couple of years with normal regular use, so I don't put anything on them. If it develops a leak because these bolts came loose, the customer usually will let me know, and at that point I would consider putting a little bit of Loctite on there. Make it tight but not too tight. You don't want to strip the bolt out. Then all that's left here, I'm going to go ahead and put the new fuel filter on because it came with one. Now, I see a lot of people that make a lot of mistakes when it comes to fuel filters. And they sell two kinds of fuel filters. The one that's in my hand, which is literally just a piece of sort of like screen that you might have on your windows. And it's just designed to keep big chunks out of your fuel from getting into your pump and your carburetor. Now, these are what go on most box store little tractors, little riding mowers. Okay? Because the fuel pretty much runs freely through that. And then they go to the store and they go, I don't want to put that cheap little thing on there. I want to buy the good one with the paper filter. Here's the problem, and here's how you know. If you try to put one of these on a tractor that does not have a fuel pump, gravity alone will not be enough to get the fuel to go through this filter, this paper filter, fast enough to keep your carburetor fed. So what ends up happening is, I was looking to see if this one had a line on it to tell you which direction. So what ends up happening is, first of all, when you put on this filter, you want the filter towards the tank side. That way this can fill up and no little crap will fill up in there. If this gets clogged, it won't allow this bottom part to fill up. So that's how you put it on. So they put these paper filters on because they think, oh, well, that's a much better filter, I'm gonna do it. But without a fuel pump, gravity does not have enough power to pull the fuel through this type of a filter. It will eventually, it drips through like a coffee filter. So if you leave the machine set for an hour, the fuel line will still fill up, but the minute you start this, it'll suck out what little bit's in there, and then it'll die, and you can't figure out why. All you did was change the fuel filter. Well, that's because gravity can't get that through the filter. So you have to use the ones without the paper. You have to use these cheapy ones. If you have a fuel filter that actually sucks the fuel through, then you can put the better filter on. So that's how you tell if that's what you want to use. So I'm just gonna go ahead and put that on. Oops. We're gonna bring this back down where it belongs. Now, a lot of times I'll replace this fuel line too because we have plenty, but in this case we don't need to. It's in good shape. We know that our barbed ends are in and in place. If you find when you're running this thing that it does develop a leak, then make sure that these are seated, the ends that we put in. Make sure they're seated. Take the whole thing off and squeeze it and make sure that they're seated pretty well. But you should not have any issues. See if I can tighten that up, push it up just a little bit more. I got that slack. So because this is a fuel pump, I can put on the paper filter. And we know that it'll work. So you just speed that all the way up. That's why I like to buy these kits. They come with pretty much everything you need. If your hose clamps are not strong enough, they even come with new ones. So I will mark that little baggie as John Deere fuel pump. I think this was the S13 or the V13S. It's a 13 horse. And we should be good to go. So now when you go to start it, the new fuel pump's going to take a second to fill this up. So you're going to turn the key for 30 seconds or so, then let it off so you don't burn up the starter. And it could take a minute or two to start because it's got to get fuel from the tank through the filter into the pump back to the carburetor. So you basically got to prime it. So let's back up and see if we can get this thing to start. Hopefully the battery didn't die while it was sitting here for the last couple of days. Alright, now I can see if I can get you in there and show you. I just watched that fuel filter fill up with fuel. It is now filled completely with fuel. So we know seriously that our pump was bad because our last fuel filter was empty. And that's just how you feel better about when you diagnose a problem. Because you know that the problem is fixed that far. And this thing should run like a top. So let's work the choke and get her started. Whoops. See, this is why I don't edit. I was wondering why it didn't start right up. Let me show you why it didn't start right up. I pulled the carburetor apart because I forgot. It had a bunch of muck in there and I was supposed to clean it out. And I forgot to put my fuel line back on my carburetor. So the fuel was just pumping out this side. So let's see if she'll start now or if that carburetor needs some more cleaning. I think she'll start. I don't like that sound it starts making after a second, but let's see. What are we shooting fuel? Oh, the bowl's not on? The bowl's not tight. I'm probably going to pull the carburetor and clean it. I just want to see if she'll start. Let me get a wrench to tighten that up so we don't have a fire hazard. It should be the same. Oh no, it should be 1/2 inch. Should be 1/2 inch. Alright, let me pause. I gotta get a different ratchet. Now, if you watch my videos on the regular, you know that I'm not one to take the bowl off of the carb without taking the carb off the machine. But in this case, it should be that way. In this case I did because I wanted to see what the inside of it looked like. And then it's just been sitting for the last couple of days because I had to wait for the part to come here in the mail. While you're here, if you made it this long, please make sure you subscribe. We just broke 2,300 subscribers. And my shorts have been doing very well lately. Things are going well with the channel. So hit the like button, that helps me a lot. If you see an ad, a commercial on my channel, please watch the whole thing. It's how I get money. Let's see if she'll start now without leaking. Why is it still leaking? What is leaking? That is the question. What is leaking? Okay, it's leaking out of that line. Let me replace that line. So I might have messed it up with my pliers. Okay, I went ahead and replaced that fuel line. Let's see if she'll start up now, eh? Come on. So I hope that helped show you guys just how easy it is. In part 1, we diagnosed the problem. I'm checking for leaks. I was just checking for leaks here. I don't see any wetness anywhere, so there's no leaks. And our fuel filter is completely filled, which is what it's supposed to be. So I hope this goes to show that once you diagnose the problem on these machines, it's really not that difficult to fix them. Hell, if I can do it, anybody can do it. So we got our new fuel pump on. Everything's back to good. Carburetor's been cleaned. Fuel line's on, the whole nine. So he's back in businesses. I appreciate you stopping by. Hit the like button. It's somewhere between my chin and my balls. And I'll see you soon.